stop thinking in terms of money and you start thinking in terms of resources. This is where 89% of the world gets stuck is they say, I don't have the money. I can't do that. I can't run a business. I can't start a business. I can't do a real estate. I can't flip a house. I can't do all this because they're only thinking in terms of one, their own money, and two, they're only thinking in terms of money. Most people that get started in real estate, probably 90%, they want to do single family homes and they want to do what's called flipping, which is when you buy a house, you fix it up, and then you sell it. Okay. And you make supposedly a bunch of money. And part of the reason that they want to do this is because they saw it on HGTV and these other channels. You know, they're throwing out these big numbers. Half the time they haven't even sold the house by the time the show is over. And so it's all just projected profits. In other words, it's a bunch of bullshit, if I can just be honest. It's a bunch of bullshit. Hey guys, welcome to this new series on the Time Compass Show. This is my beautiful fiancé, Miss Dinda. I thought it'd be more fun for her to interview me today rather than simply monologue. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Today we're gonna talk about FIRE movement. For some people, they call it
Financial independent and retire early.
no the other.
Oh, okay. Escape from the rat race.
Okay,
Escaping the rat race.
so we're gonna talking about that, and I will ask him questions about how like he survived on this. For people who don't know, how do you personally define the FIRE movement?
Sure. I mean, it's really not that complicated. Financial independent, retire early. It's simply getting your passive income above your expenses. And you can do that by a combination of things. Number one is just getting more passive income, stocks, real estate, royalties, book sales, podcasts, referral business, multi-level marketing, sales, residuals. Any of these can qualify as long as the money keeps coming in after the work has already been done. And then the second part is just lowering your expenses, which is part of the reason we're in beautiful Bali. If I was back in America, my rent would be probably 5 to 10 times higher than it is for the same size house and everything, depending upon where I live. My food costs would probably be 2 or 3 times higher, probably 2 times for the groceries. And then eating out would be 3, 4, or 5 times higher. Not to mention car insurance, taxes, car taxes, cell phone bill, everything would be much more expensive. So the easiest way for some people to retire early is simply build up some residual income and then move overseas. That's how did I get started in real estate. For those of you who are looking to get started, and I've talked about this in a previous video, but it's important to maybe go over again, a RIA, Real Estate Investor Association, is going to be the best place to learn because that is a group of people. It's more like a community and less like a program, less like somebody selling you a course, although they do that. But it's about the community in your local neighborhood, your city, sharing tips, how they're doing business, the new laws that are happening, the advantages and disadvantages of doing it. So for example, for myself, I've never done a single family home. Most people that get started in real estate, probably 90%, they want to do single family homes and they want to do what's called flipping, which is when you buy a house, you fix it up, and then you sell it. Okay. And you make supposedly a bunch of money. And part of the reason that they want to do this is because they saw it on HGTV and these other channels. You know, it's survivorship bias. These people have been doing it. They're throwing out these big numbers. Half the time they haven't even sold the house by the time the show is over. And so it's all just projected profits. In other words, it's a bunch of bullshit, if I can just be honest. It's a bunch of bullshit, but people get sucked into it and they think that that's what they're going to do. I realized how much work that would be, how many different specialities you would have to be good at: painting, landscaping, curb appeal, carpet, walls, framing. You know, to me, it just looks like a bunch of landmines. And if you don't have any experience in the construction business and the handyman business, plumbing or electrical, you're walking into something where you really don't have any skill set because you saw it on TV and you're very likely to get burned. So there are ways to do that, obviously, but without getting burned. There are smarter and better ways. There are optimal ways to do it, such as you could live in the property and fix it up while you live there. So your rent becomes zero, or you don't have two rents, basically. It doesn't become zero, but you're living in the property while you fix it up with the full intention that in 3, 6, 9 months, you're going to turn around and sell it and make a pocket of cash. But here's the second problem with that I picked up from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad long before I went to the RIAs. If you buy an object, fix it up, and then sell it, there's no passive income there. That object is gone. You have to go find another object, and you have to fix that object, and you have to sell it. you're doing 3 parts of the work and you're only getting paid once. Yeah. I don't like that type of business. I would rather have a manufacturer sending me the product that I resell every single month over and over and over again, rather than spending all the time and energy to go find a product, then the time and energy to fix it, then the time and energy to sell it for one paycheck. You can do 1/3 of the work somewhere, be a middleman, be a retailer, be a wholesaler, be a manufacturer, still make a boatload of cash and not have to cover 3 parts of the wheel. So how did I get started? I actually inherited a piece of property when my father died. I had to fix it up. It was in a terrible neighborhood. It did have one good tenant. It had a manager who was stealing, which I didn't even know at the time. I had to discover that throughout the process. When I discovered everything that was going on, it's because the police called me. They told me there was an illegal club operating there with a catering license.
What?
And I had no idea. And that somebody had gotten shot in the parking lot.
My God.
Yes. And so I had to get rid of that manager right away. I had to fly back and take care of the property. I put tar on the roof myself to fix some of the holes.
Right.
Yeah. And then, I got new managers in place, but that was really hard because it's in a bad neighborhood. When you're in a bad neighborhood, it is hard to find good help and good managers. They don't want it either. And so eventually we sold the property to some Chinese investors and it became their problem and not mine. And then I used that money to do other things. And actually, at the same time, I think it's worth noting, I did have some Airbnbs that I started in Las Vegas. So those were kind of running concurrently. So I had the income from the property in Florida, which was a piece of commercial property. And then I had my Airbnbs in Las Vegas. I've also flipped land in Bali, Indonesia. I've sold another piece of property in Florida. But I'm not really huge on real estate. But that is what our topic is today, because you want to know more about it. And you can learn a lot just about business and life in general while still learning about real estate going to the Rios. And I'll add one more little piece here, and then so feel free to jump in with another question. One of the things that's really important that I learned from real estate is that it's all just deal making. Hey guys, we're back. A little bit of technical difficulties. What did I say last before we lost it?
You have a good point about real estate that you want to tell us.
Okay, yes, Rios. When you learn about real estate, there is so much that can carry over into your business life or your personal professional life, because it's all about making deals. It just happens to be that you're making deals on land and property and houses. But that same knowledge of skills, communication, marketing, deal finding can be taken to the business world. And you stop thinking in terms of money and you start thinking in terms of resources. And I think this is where 99% of the world sees and gets stuck, is they say, I don't have the money. I can't do that. I can't run a business. I can't start a business. I can't do a real estate. I can't flip a house. I can't do all this because they're only thinking in terms of, one, their own money, and two, they're only thinking in terms of money. Right? You say true, but I think you haven't gotten past that hump yourself. She's on the journey with us. For me, now that I'm older, I'm 43, I didn't, I'm on the same journey. I'm just at a different level, a different stage now. When I was 24, 23, I had the same hangups. I don't have enough money. I don't make enough money. How can I do this? Yada, yada, yada. All they talk about is OPM, other people's money. And then that doesn't give you the confidence to ask somebody for an investment. That still makes you, you can still be uncomfortable taking other people's money. When you make the shift and really understand that it's not just money, it's resources. And I say resources, it's your time, it's their time, it's the land, it's credit, it's money, cash, it's a boat that you might have, a jet ski, a motorcycle. Anything in this world can be a resource that is tradable and leverageable to get a deal done. And when you start thinking in that way, opportunities open up. And I'll just give an example. Last video, I was talking about my garden. If you're in an environment where let's say you're in a tiny apartment, you can only fit 5 pots on your balcony. You're very limited on your garden. I almost guarantee you, there is a 99% chance that there is somebody in your town that is sitting on a piece of land that for them is a problem. They do nothing with it. They're paying taxes. People could be vandalizing, living on it. It's being underutilized. And they don't have the energy. They don't have the money. They're not going to do anything with it themselves. And they don't know who to turn to. So they don't even go ask somebody to help them with their piece of land. If you were to just go to somebody and say that has a piece of land that you see is empty, vacant, barren, overgrown, and you say, hey, I want to start a Moringa tree farm. I'm going to buy all the trees. I'm going to do all the seeds. I'm going to do all the fertilizer. It's all going to be organic and safe. There's not going to be any mess to clean up because this is what they're worried about, right? You're going to
Right.
destroy their land and leave them with some huge toxic cleanup bill or something. You have to think about the other side. When you're doing a deal, you have to think about the other side. What are they worried about? What is their motivation? What are they getting out of it? It can't just be about yourself. So you could go to somebody with this vacant piece of land with overgrown shrubs. You say, I'll do all the trimming. I'll till this piece of land. I'm going to plant 25 trees. And here's my projections in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, yada, yada, yada. Here's what we can make. And if it ever doesn't work out, if 3 years down the line, you say, buddy, I don't want you moringa trees on my land anymore. I want to just sell it. No problem. I can take the trees out or I can leave the trees in, whichever you prefer. Right? Or you could say the trees are yours.
Yeah.
You know, you can make whatever deal is comfortable for both people. And then you just split the profits.
Right.
Or maybe they just want the moringa powder, you know?
Yeah.
Think in terms of resources instead of cash, and opportunities are endless and they're around you everywhere. It's question.
Next question. Okay, so we're talking about the fire movement, right?
Yeah.
Kind of deep question, maybe. Do you focus more on aggressively or increasing income?
That's a great question. I think you can do both. I don't think it has to be one or the other. Now, first, it was about just driving up my income. This is why I did the Airbnb. So I expanded from 1 unit to 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6. I got to 6 units and I had a nice chunk of cash coming in. So much so that I didn't actually even want to make any more Airbnbs because I saw the laws shifting in Las Vegas and they were going to make Airbnbs hard in the future. And I saw that ahead of time. So instead of making more Airbnbs in Las Vegas, I started buying silver, I started buying Bitcoin, and I started diversifying. And silver and Bitcoin, they don't generate any cash flow, but it was another place where I could put my money with the extra cash flow that I had coming in. But unfortunately, one of the large casinos bought out the entire apartment complex that I was subletting from. So I had 6 rooms from this apartment complex that I was renting out. They bought the entire apartment complex. They said, no, you're illegal. Get out. And I could try to fight it, but it would be a losing battle.
Right.
It would be a losing battle
So
eventually.
over.
Yeah, well, and they're in the right. I'm in the gray. They're completely in the right. You know, I could delay it, but I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like fighting it. I didn't feel like delaying it. So I shut down those. I sold all my furniture, and then I had a choice. I could either rebuild to get back to my previous level, or I could just move to Thailand, spend less, and I'd have all this other income from my other piece of real estate and from other opportunities. I could pursue other things. And so I chose to move to Thailand. So it was one, and then it was the other. And there is no right or wrong. And really, to be optimal, you should do both.
It's regular. You do early retire or retire early,
Yeah,
right?
you can say that, but I kept chasing opportunities.
Right.
I had this dream of taking a year off and doing absolutely nothing. And then Bitcoin started shooting up in price.
Right.
And then other cryptos started following, and all this new opportunities came. It felt like this once in a lifetime opportunity. And so I then became completely addicted to just researching and investing in crypto and trading crypto. And I didn't make more money. If I had just held Bitcoin, I would have made even more money instead of trying to be a trader. So I wasted tons of time, tons of energy, but I also had a bit of fun and made some friends along the way.
So you now more on stock,
Yes.
silver.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, to be specific, yes, silver, but more importantly, silver mining companies, silver producers, silver realty streams, and silver exploratory companies. So basically, and when I say silver, really, we should open this up to metal. So gold, silver, copper, tungsten, all very exciting right now.
And maybe I want to ask you more about real estate because you have a lot of journey on that and a lot of experience because you did it in the US and
Mm.
then in Bali, right?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned before about that bed manager and also I know that you have a bed manager also in Bali.
Yeah.
So
Well, that was for the business, not for real estate.
what is the difference of US in the US and in Bali about real estate doing Airbnb? What is the difference?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's all gonna. That's getting to the nitty gritty, right? It's gonna vary by city and by county in the U.S. counties, right?
Yeah.
You know, real estate is localized. There's a lot of similarities everywhere in the world. So if you learn real estate in New York, you can transfer the processes, the systems, the ideas, the marketing to any market in the world. You can go from New York to London and be successful. You can go from New York to Morocco. You can go from Florida to Morocco. It doesn't matter. Real estate is very similar all over the world. But of course, there's different local laws. And so many of these countries, counties, etc., they do have laws specifically for short-term rentals, which is all an Airbnb is. Airbnb, quote unquote, has been around before the website Airbnb was made. It was just called short-term rentals. It was much more niche. And there was people, realtors, etc., companies that specialized in short-term rentals. It's just most people didn't know about it. The internet, of course, exposes it, blows it up, and changes the game. So now a lot more places have laws for and against short-term rentals. So, for example, in Las Vegas, remember, this is a hotel city. Cities, hotels and casinos are the same thing. And so Airbnbs really are kind of against the profitability of Las Vegas. You know, you got to respect them for keeping Las Vegas, Las Vegas. If they had all these Airbnbs, the hotels would lose money, and then you'd have less people working at the hotels. You'd have less casinos. You'd have less cleaners. It is kind of a downward spiral. So they need to protect the local market. That being said, there's a lot of places like San Francisco that are protecting the local market. Airbnbs make up less than 0.5%, 0.5%, less than 1%, 0.5% of the market, but it gets all the blame for driving up the prices because politicians can't blame themselves and get reelected. They can't say, oh, we made it too hard for builders. We created too many green zones. We created too many EPA laws. It's our fault prices go up. You can never do that as a politician and get reelected. You always have to blame somebody else. And so they love blaming Airbnbs. They love blaming short-term rentals, anything but themselves. So I think Bali, you know, here's the thing with Bali, with real estate. You got to be careful as a foreigner. And I live here, so I can't say everything that I want to say. But you just have to be really careful. And the advice that you get, even from a realtor, especially a realtor, and even maybe from some notaries, might not be the 100% white hat best way of doing it. And you can get yourself in trouble later. And they could take the land from you, they could take the house from you, etc., because you really were breaking the laws. And so I personally am not going to do any Airbnbs in Bali. And if I did, it would only be in your name, right? It would be you would be doing the Airbnbs.
Already answered my next question.
Yeah, no, you know, luckily I have a beautiful, intelligent, and trustworthy fiance. And so if I wanted exposure to the market here, I would just give you a loan and you would do the Airbnb and I would just give you advice, right? That's how I would do it in this country, right? Because of the laws and the way I see things being done here. Did that answer the question or should I go into some more here? Now I have flipped land. I have flipped, more specifically, I flipped a contract. I flipped a lease. It's very common here and perfectly legal for a foreigner to get a 25-year lease with a 25-year option to renew. You pay X amount of dollars for that. And then you can turn around and you can either build on it, live on it, do whatever, farm on it, or you can turn around and sell the contract to somebody else. You're flipping the contract. It's the original owner is still the owner. That's the legal way to do it, and that's the way I've done it here.
Next time, so I think this already answered my question. You choose flip the contract rather than build Airbnb again.
Sure. You know, in real estate, there's 100 niches. You can build a single family house. You can buy and rent a single family house. You can buy and sell a single family house. That's just single family houses. You could do it for warehouses. You could do it for strip centers. You can do it for restaurants. You could do it for, this is one of the best, I think could be one of the best ones. You can do it for piers, right? Where people park their boats at a dock. You can do it on a dock. That's a piece of real estate that's very niche. And if people want to dock their boat there, they only got one place to go. They go to you or they get out. Right. I think that's a great piece of real estate. I don't know much about it, but that's an interesting one. But there's so many things to do there. So number one, building, that's hard. If you don't have any skill set in construction, handyman, if you don't know the difference between a 150 cement mix and a 250 cement mix, you're going to have to learn a lot of things to do it correctly, safely, and cheaply. So you have to think about where is your edge? I don't have an edge for building something unless maybe there's a business that's attached to it. You know, I'd still love to do a spa here. I'd still love to do a gym and spa and health center. But that's really a business that you then build a building for the business. That's moving more towards the business side than the real estate side. But anyway, you have to pick your niche and you have to know your exit and your goals. So if I want quick cash, then I want to flip, right? If I need to, for some reason, let's say I want to start a business and I need to make $50,000 to start my business. Maybe one of the ways I can do that is go find a piece of land that's really cheap or go find a house that's really beat up. I could get it under contract. I could make it more marketable, maybe not even to the point of selling it to the retail buyer, but maybe making it look better and doing the numbers to sell it to another investor. That's called wholesale, by the way. I can buy a piece of property or contract another piece of property and then take it to another investor, and the investor finishes it, not me. I can make $10, $15, $50,000. You make whatever you want. By the way, it's getting hot, so let's not talk that too long.
Okay, so maybe last question.
Okay.
I want you to give me advice
Sure.
about how to get the fire movement on fire only. Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah. I think number one is you got to do a lot of research. You have to read the books that I gave you. You have to read some books. You have to find some YouTube channels. You have to find some mentors. You know, when I was growing up, it was very hard. There was no YouTube. You know, YouTube, and even if there was a YouTube, it didn't have the information that it has now. You can go research these things. You can find some mentors. And then number two, you need to find your niche. Is it going to be real estate? Is it going to be a restaurant? Is it going to be a business with employees, right? Is it going to be investing in stocks, right? For me, I'm moving more and more towards stocks, and I'm looking for ways to make money through referrals and partnerships, which is what my podcast really does, right? Is I'm connecting with business owners, I'm building my community, and I'm saying, oh, you need a really great website. I got a guy for that. Let me connect you guys. And of course, I get a fee for doing that, but there's no fee for you. It's free for you. It's included in the cost. I'm just connecting you. And then that guy gives me a piece of it, you know? And so it's all benefits to both parties. And I only refer good people. I don't refer, you know, I'm not going to refer somebody for 5% more and they do a worse job. It's not good for my reputation, and it doesn't make me feel good. I'm not about that. And then also, if you find a good provider, whether it's a website or staffing and recruiting, you're going to go back to that person and buy more services, which then adds to my commissions and referral partnership. So I want to bring you the best so that your business grows, and then you can continue to use my referrals and we continue to benefit. And that's win-win-win. Everybody's winning in this situation. You have to pick your niche. And then step two, you have to study it as hard as you can, as much free time as you can. Listen, if you've got an 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour job and you've got to take care of the kids, you know, I get it. And if your brain is overloaded and you live a complex life and you can only study for 30 minutes a day, I get it. But if you do it 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week, how many hours is that?
20.
Anyway, it's like 3.5 hours, right? If you do that times 52, it's 150 hours. 150 hours while you're just saving money. Say, work a regular job, save some money while devoting 3 hours a week, just 3 hours a week. At the end of a year, that's 150 hours of knowledge that you'll be able to put forth towards whatever, whether it's a business, Airbnb, stocks, etc., whatever vehicle for your early retirement, you will have 150 dedicated hours of knowledge, and you will have a year's worth of savings so that you can move in with a clear plan, clear target, and clear goals.
That's long, but I get it, and then it's good, and I want to start.
Okay. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. I would go longer, but it's getting too hot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Bud Leiser, host of the Time Compass Show. As an SMB leader, do you feel that recruiting drags on, salaries keep rising, and your team is already stretched thin? And what if your best employee quit today? You need a backup plan, my friend. Your local talent is scarce, and those costs keep rising. Did you try outsourcing and remote staffing before, and it didn't work? That's because they promised you associate-level talent, but secretly hire fresh graduates and sold them to learn on your dime. But not with us. We specialize in staffing professionals with over 5 years of real industry experience. Think about it. No more juniors means no more babysitting for you. Less time onboarding, less time training, and faster team integration. Imagine no additional tax forms, insurance forms, and labor compliance with your next hires. And did you know that staffing with us can save you 30% just on federal taxes and employee benefits? So what are you waiting for? Are you ready to start saving time and money? Then schedule a call today and let's become your top choice for top global talent. Just go to budleiser.com and click outsource. That's BUDLEISER.com. Well, thank you. You've been listening to the Time Compass Show with Bud Leiser. I hope our compass has shown you a better way forward. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, I dare you not to like and not to subscribe. And I definitely double dare you not to share this episode with 2 of your friends who you know that would love this show. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, cheers.